On behalf of the Asian Disaster Preparedness Center, ADPC Academy, I welcome you all to our e-learning course on disaster risk communication in the new normal. My name is Dr. Sunil Parashar and I am working as a project officer with the ADPC Academy. I will be your course coordinator for this course. This presentation on course overview aims to achieve two key objectives. At the end of this session, participants should be able to define the need for disaster risk communication and describe the need for a disaster risk communication plan. To achieve these objectives, this session contains the following: setting the context, course objectives, course contents, methodology, completion policy, and schedule. Before you go to course objectives, course content, course methodology, completion requirement, etc., it is very important to set the context first. In this course, disaster risk communication is defined as a preventive activity that helps reduce the adverse impacts of hazard events on people and social systems. Both a one-way transfer of hazard and risk-related information and their management, and a two-way exchange of related information, knowledge, attitudes, and/or values. Preparing communicating actors for hazard events that enables them to better cope with the hazard events. For ADPC, disaster risk communication is different from disaster crisis emergency communications that often focus on communication activities during and after event. From a public health perspective, World Health Organization defines risk communication as the real-time exchange of information, advice, and opinions between experts, community leaders, or officials, and the people who are at risk, which is an integral part of any emergency response. For public health emergencies, risk communication aims to encourage informed decision-making, positive behavior change, and the maintenance of trust. Risk communication includes a range of communication capacities required through the preparedness, response, and recovery phases of a serious public health event. I hope that now you can define disaster risk communications. Now let us understand why we need disaster risk communication. To inform about the risk and actions to reduce such risk. In most countries, government have a responsibility to provide clear information to the public about hazards, vulnerability, exposure, etc., and on the actions that can be taken at the household, community, and government levels. Therefore, risk communication is critical as it informs about the risk and suggests appropriate actions to reduce such risk. To create governance and accountability for risk reduction. With disaster risk communication, the media can play a crucial role by engaging people on key issues, disseminating information, creating a platform to share ideas, and hosting discussions around governance and accountability for risk reduction. Therefore, risk communication is crucial as it creates governance and accountability for risk reduction. To share improved scientific risk information for making better decisions about the risks. Advances in technologies have improved scientific risk information dramatically in recent years. This valuable information should be effectively communicated to people who need it to make better decisions about the risk. Therefore, risk communication is crucial as it can provide effective platform to share improved scientific risk information for making better decisions about the risk. To share risk information for disaster risk management, decision making at the national and local levels. Risk information provides a critical foundation for managing disaster risk across a wide range of sectors. Therefore, appropriate communication of robust risk information at the right time can raise awareness and trigger actions to reduce risk. I hope you can now explain the need for disaster risk communication. Now let us understand what a disaster risk communication plan is. A disaster risk communication plan provides guides and procedure for the conduct of disaster risk communication within your agency and between your agency, the media, other agencies, and the public in the event of any natural hazard threat or natural hazard induced disaster or controversial issues that demands a response or a desired behavior change. Disaster risk communication planning comprises of 6 steps as shown in the figure on your right, namely situation analysis, audience analysis, goals, objective settings, message development, message delivery, and evaluation. This course focuses on all 6 steps, and these steps will be discussed in detail in the subsequent sessions. I hope you can now explain what a disaster risk communication plan is. Now, let us understand why a disaster risk communication plan is needed. A disaster risk communication plan is needed to create a guide or procedure for the conduct of risk communication, to create information and education to stimulate behavior change, to diagnose and create trust, to create awareness strategies, to motivate the public to act, and finally to develop mediating skills. I hope you can now explain the context covered in the first part of my presentation. This completes the key objective of this session. The subsequent PowerPoint slides will take you to the course objectives, course content, course methodology, completion policy, and schedule. Now let us look at the course objectives. This course aims to accomplish 3 key objectives. At the end of the course, participants should be able to raise awareness, knowledge, and skills on effective disaster risk communication planning, develop or enhance their draft disaster risk communication plan in the new normal, and identify initiatives and good practices on effective disaster risk communication in the new normal for possible replication. The course objectives will be delivered through 10 key sessions, or they may be also referred as lessons. And these sessions or lessons are the core content of this course. Now let us look at the course content. As I said earlier, this course consists of 10 sessions or lessons. Session 1, Course Overview. This session aims to provide participants with an overview of the training course on disaster risk communication in the new normal. It will explain why disaster risk communication plans are needed and provide a course overview and information on the course objective, methodology, and schedule. Session 2, Overview of Disaster Risk Management Concepts and Frameworks. This session will focus on the concepts, terminologies, and frameworks related to disaster risk management. It will also explore linkages between disaster risk management and disaster risk communication. Session 3, Situation Analysis. In this session, participants will better understand how risk is perceived and why. It is the first step in risk communication planning. Session 4, Disaster Risk Communication Approaches. This session will focus on various disaster risk communication approaches, including the risk communication and community engagement strategy adopted by World Health Organization during COVID-19. Special emphasis will also be placed on gender responsive and inclusive approaches to risk communication. Session 5, Understand Your Audience. This session will focus on defining and explaining the step-by-step process of audience analysis and segmentation. This will allow participants to identify priority audience and craft effective and efficient disaster risk communication plans. Session 6, Establishing Goals and Objectives. The core of this session is about guiding you how to develop goals and SMART objectives for your disaster risk communication plan. Session 7, Developing Right Message. This session will help participants to develop right message by discussing what to say and how to say for disaster risk communication. It will include example on how to talk about the hazard, what to do, as well as message, style, tone, demon, accuracy, and so on. Session 8, Delivering Right Message. This session will focus on tools that are useful when communicating risks to the public, such as awareness tools, knowledge tools, decision making tools, and implementation tools. Tools that are traditional as well as modern for communicating risk related to disease epidemics, with the examples will be discussed. Session 9, Monitoring and Evaluation. This session will focus on monitoring and evaluation framework for improving the effectiveness of disaster risk communication plan. The participant will be discussing and identifying steps for preparing and implementing monitoring and evaluation plan. Session 10, Written Demonstration. In this session, participant will share and receive feedback on their disaster risk communication plan from technical expert and other participants. In all these sessions, except session 1 and session 2, you will be working on drafting your disaster risk communication plan through peer group work assignments. Now let us look at the course methodology. The methodology of this course consists of 8 components. All content discussed earlier will be delivered through the following. The ADPC Academy will hold 2 discussion forums where participants will be able to hear and connect with the disaster risk communication expert. The first discussion forum will focus on disaster risk communication and community engagement for overlapping and cascading disasters. The second discussion forum will focus on to strengthen the flow of disaster risk information for improving the decision making and fight misinformation. Institutional forum is the integral part of this training course. The purpose of conducting institutional forum is to share knowledge and learn from Thailand experience on disaster risk communication, including good practices and lesson learned from development and implementation of disaster risk communication plans. Peer group work assignment for disaster risk communication plan. Group assignments will provide you an opportunity to apply your knowledge you gain from each session to draft your disaster risk communication plan, which will be presented at the end of the course. Coaching and mentoring is the optional feature of this course. When you work on your peer group work assignment for drafting your disaster risk communication plan, the coaching and mentoring can provide you a guidance or clarify any doubt you may have. PowerPoint presentation will introduce you to the conceptual foundation of different sessions in an interactive manner. All PowerPoint presentations will be instructor-led and pre-recorded. The curriculum is a guiding document for you to achieve each session's objectives. It will provide you with a detailed explanation of each session by briefly discussing all theoretical and practical concepts, including case studies. The curriculum will also help you to prepare for and pass your quiz at the end of the sessions. It can also help you during your peer group work assignments. For each session, except session 1 and session 10, a multiple choice quiz will assess your basic comprehension of the session. Course evaluation. This is where we invite you to tell us your thought about the course and also provide us with your valuable feedback about your learning experience. Now let us look at the course completion policy. The following assessment activities are mandatory for course completion. Completion of evaluation quizzes with marks of at least 75% or above. Participation in the discussion forums. And completion of the peer group work assignment for disaster risk communication plan. Finally, let us look at the course schedule. As you all know, this course will be conducted from 15 November to 3rd of December. Let us look at the detailed schedule. Week 1 from 15 to 19 November. It will cover 3 sessions, that is session 1, 2 and 3. Week 2 from 22 to 26 November. It will cover 3 sessions, that is session 4, 5 and 6. Week 3 from 29 November to 3rd December. It will cover 4 sessions, that is session 7, 8, 9 and 10. In addition to this, the schedule will also cover course opening, course closing, mid course evaluation, and end course evaluation, discussion forum, and peer group work assignment exercise. This is the end of my presentation on the course overview. I hope you are now ready to take this course. I would like to express my best wishes to you and I hope you will enjoy this course. If you have any question, you may write to us using the email showing on your screen. On behalf of ADPC Academy, I once again thank you all for showing interest in our course.